So I just want to say welcome again. My name is Kyriaki. I'm a co-leader of the Social Innovation SIG for a special interest group. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to this little coffee for thought session. You know, this is meant to be like a relaxed space to share emerging ideas and spark conversations that might lead to bigger things. So think of it as a brain fuel over a coffee break. I have my coffee next to me. So we're very excited about the today's session by Professor Dr. Henning Brewer, and on a very, very timely and interesting topic. And today's session is special because it's co-organized with the Special Interest Group for Values-Based and Sustainable Innovation and the SFRS project, which stands for Strategic Foresight for Sustainability. So SFRS is a European innovation, Erasmus Innovation Alliance. Let me see, I'm trying to, yeah, here it is. That brings together people from universities, vocational training industry, and academia, and all working on how we build the foresight skills we need to navigate sustainability transitions. So the project has focused on 3 key sectors: agri-food, health, and mobility that have been really feeling the pressure of digital and green transformation. So, and the goal of the project has been to explore how strategic foresight, that is, you know, the ability to think ahead in smart and systemic ways, can help us make better and more sustainable decisions now. So the project has garnered lots of insights from interviews, workshops, and some fun examples include, you know, using chefs as trend scouts, and then all this kind of fed into developing some training and learning materials, which you can find on the project's website, including synthesis reports of different workshops, curriculum ideas, and training materials, and event recordings. So I really urge you to look at the project website. So building on the project, emphasis on aligning innovation with sustainability and societal values. So today's presentation kind of turns attention to one of the most pressing kind of foresight challenges, that is, you know, ensuring that AI technologies and the business models behind them are aligned with human and European values, of, most importantly, of sustainable development. So we are thrilled to have with us Professor Dr. Henning Brewer, who has been a core member of the SFRS project. He's a professor of business and media psychology at the University of Applied Sciences for Media Communication and Management in Berlin, and the founder of UX Berlin, an innovation consulting company. So he has a passion for understanding people and shaping the future. And his work is very interesting because it bridges academic insight and hands-on strategy, innovation management, and business anthropology, and customer research. So with that, I will hand it over to Henning. And well, let's dive in. I'll stop sharing my screen. Thank you so much for being here. Could you try to share a screen, and I'll mute myself.
Yes, so welcome from my side as well. I hope you can all hear me. Great.
Yes.
Yeah, also welcome to my students here from Media University in Berlin, who allowed us to take a little coffee break from their lectures here today, in order to find out more about how to align AI business model innovation with values of sustainable business, sustainable development. And some of them also helped me in preparing that sessions and contributing some initial ideas. And also welcome to Kirill Ivanov, my dear colleague here from Media University as well. Hey, Kirill. And I'm also referring to one case that he has been researching on. Okay, yeah. As I said, or at Kyriaki said, I'm from Media University here in Berlin. I'm running a special interest group on values-based and sustainable innovation together with Kirill here within the ISPIM community. We are drawing from the SFYS projects and from some of the works with UX Berlin, my consulting company. And with these words said, let's just jump right into the topic. There will be some presentation from my side up front to begin with, and then some hopefully, interactive element towards the end where you can contribute your own ideas and where we can hopefully enter a little bit of a vivid discussion around how to design artificial intelligence business problems, business models more sustainability oriented. There's a big debate within the artificial intelligence community around what has been called the alignment problem, which is essentially aligning artificial intelligence performance with human values. So in that case, in that manner, it much reflects also what we're focusing on here with the special interest group, which is values-based and sustainable innovation. And this alignment problem actually can be called the greatest challenge we are currently facing for AI development and adoption. Why is that the case? There are several scenarios being discussed, and some of you have experimenting some of those. I mean, it starts with simple hallucinations and bias building into the intelligent systems we have available today. So there has been a data set, for instance, been around a facial recognition data set named Labeled Faces in the Wild, and it draws from online news articles in the late 2000s. So it provides training materials for face recognition, and then when people looked closer into these training materials, they saw that within all these news articles in the late 2000s that made up the training materials for these systems, there were as many pictures of George W. Bush in there than of all Black women combined, right? So actually, probably it's not so much a face recognition system that you can train with it, but a George W. Bush recognition system, which is just one interesting way to illustrate the kind of bias that comes into these materials through the training data. There's been another case by Amazon where they try to utilize some of the applications, successful applications to the company as training materials for new applications, for new applicants. And in the end, it showed up that that artificial intelligence they were training around that was sorting out all female CVs because there were not so many females being hired for leading positions yet at that time. So there's the simple, relatively simple aspects of hallucinations and bias going on to more severe issues, right? How can we prevent evil forces of just utilizing artificial intelligence to build the next deadly bioweapon or the next deadly virus spread? So one of the questions is really, and Sam Altman, one of the founders of OpenAI, asked that question himself: who will control the future of AI? How can we make sure that it stays in a kind of democratic control and doesn't is not excessively used by some authoritarian regimes or other evil forces, or, and that's the third threat that is being discussed currently, a power grab. So how can we prevent a runaway AI from murdering humanity is one of the questions that has been asked there, right? So maybe there's a way that artificial intelligence can make itself independent, like in the movie 2001, where, yeah, the artificial intelligence decided that humans are not so reliable and it should probably live on and not the humans. A lot of these challenges are being addressed. Here's one of the projects within OpenAI that was dedicating 20% of the computing power to solving these alignment challenges, which is good and important. It's called the superalignment project. And as far as I know, it's still going on. However, all this issue about the alignment and the safety considerations also became a big issue for governance conflict inside the company. And this is an image from a piece in the Wall Street Journal that just came out 1.5 months ago, where it shows, that the time before a conflict in the governance of OpenAI in the end of 2023, where Peter Thiel here, one of the infamous investors here from Silicon Valley, was warning Sam Altman about things going on in the organizations that might lead to a firing of Sam Altman, which actually did. And the end of 2023, and it was exactly about this question: was Sam Altman and the management team, were they putting sufficient and reliable priority on addressing these safety-related alignment issues, or were they prioritizing more rapid innovation? There were some accusations that he had been lying to the board. So in the end, the board of the non-profit organization holding the majority shares here fired Sam Altman. He was reinstalled a few days afterwards. And there's a book just coming out this or next week here by Wall Street Journal, Keith Hagee, a very nice piece of work, I think, called The Optimist, the OpenAI and the race to invent the future, that is really discussing a lot what's going on, or what has been going on also behind the scene of this firing and rehiring of Sam Altman. And those of you who have been following the media, there's been a new debate coming out now just 1.5 weeks ago, where OpenAI decided to had another conflict with Elon Musk and another co-founders about the management structure and the governance structure, and in the end had to decide to keep the current setup where the non-profit organization is a large shareholder in the more profit-oriented arm of the company, and forcing it to balance profit interest with the mission, which is to develop a safe general artificial intelligence. We'll come back to that. However, I want to bring your attention to a different aspect now, because all these debates have been focusing very much on the technological issues. But as oftentimes we see that not the malfunctioning or the abuse of technology, but also its widespread adoption can lead to unintended consequences, like we've seen with a lot of the social media that contribute to fostering social divide and radicalization. So there have been cases discussed with YouTube nudging users to view more and more extreme content based on its algorithms. There have been examples of Facebook fostering echo chambers, misinformation, and manipulation. There have been cases where Twitter has been used to spread polarizing views or harassment campaigns. There have been examples of TikTok provoking content that pushes strong reactions and tends to influence young adults into maybe not for everyone so desirable ideas. There have been cases where Reddit contributed to normalize extreme ideas, and there are platforms not as much known as the ones before, maybe like 4chan or 8chan, that actually helped in the incubation of radical movements like especially radical extreme right organizations or conspiracy theory spreading organizations like QAnon. There also are platforms like Telegram that don't have a lot of surveillance and also facilitate extremist challenges and propaganda, right? So these are not so much technological issues that are leading to problems for society here. And the question is how to deal with that. And if we are not running into similar problems once we look into companies providing powerful intelligent systems like ChatGPT in the case of OpenAI, but also other companies, right? So we have problems already emerging from disproportionate energy consumption, from excessive surveillance, right? In several countries of the world, artificial intelligence and this face recognition, for instance, can be used to control the population in ways that contradicts a democratic approach. There are cases of severe security and safety breaches. There is an increase of digital divide between people who can or cannot use such artificial intelligence tools, right? If I just think about my mother's generation, for instance, or people in other countries that don't have so good access to these services. There's tendency to replace critical thinking with troubleshooting, right? So once you can just get out a research paper in its totality in a couple of seconds, you tend to maybe spot the mistakes, eliminate the hallucinations rather than to make up your own mind how to address and approach a certain topic using your own critical thinking. And there can be a tendency, and we'll get back to that, to devalue and maybe even reduce the amount of creative output of human work through these artificial intelligence systems. So question is, what can we do with it about it? And how can we ensure that artificial intelligence becomes a means for creating economic, social, and environmental value? And how can we design systems that are designed, aligned with the needs of sustainable development? There's been an initiative from the European Union saying an action plan just also 2-3 weeks ago published AI continent action plan that promotes the widespread adoption and development and actually striving for being a global leader in AI, an ambitious goal, I would say, given the current situation, but trying to enhance European competitiveness, but in line with democratic and European values, especially values of environmental sustainability. Question is, how can we do that? And what we can do is we can learn from other companies who have successfully taken that or a similar journey, and we have a lot of them documented in 2 textbooks we've published on values-based innovation management and on sustainable business model design, where there's a lot of cases and examples of companies that have been quite successful in redesigning a more conventional business model into a more sustainability-oriented one. So the question is, once you put in different values into a given business model and a current design, and let's take OpenAI as an example here, and if you put different values into that kind of business model up front, maybe you end up with a different value proposition, with different stakeholder segments, with different touch points, distribution channels, revenue streams, capabilities, partners, and a different kind of cost structure. How that works is something that Kirill Ivanov already showed quite nicely in this journal paper here. Maybe Kirill, you want to paste a link to that open access publication into the chat. And one thing we can do with it is where we compare a conventional search engine business model like Google, the market leader, with a sustainability-oriented search engine like Ecosia that was entering the market of search engines when Google already was the absolutely dominant player on that market. But Ecosia was also successful in positioning itself as number 6 or 7, I think, in Europe nowadays, with a different set of core values centered on creating a beneficial impact and striving for sustainability. And once you introduce new values into the search engine business model, you see that your value proposition, for instance, changes, right? So Ecosia is reinvesting its profits into tree planting projects and reforestation around the world, which means it has an extended value proposition. It also has suddenly new stakeholders that are benefiting from or being affected from the business. It's not only the users, employees, and so forth, the usual suspects, but also communities in deforested areas and so forth, right? So this is just an example of how you can introduce more sustainability-oriented business values into a conventional business model in order to make it more sustainable. And there are several patterns that can be extracted from these successful cases, like profit reinvestment or designing your products in a more sustainable way, that provide design patterns for other companies or entrepreneurs trying to redesign their business model in line with values of sustainability, for instance. Ecosia actually already took a try and is taking a try here. So it's offering a green chatbot based on OpenAI's large language model. So this chatbot is operated by OpenAI, but the queries are not trained to use the model. And what users can do is they can select between the standard replies to the chatbot or more sustainable replies, right? And that whole chatbot is also powered by, supported by energy provided by Ecosia, at least to some extent, and should be within the threshold of Ecosia's production of 200% carbon negative footprint. So for instance, if you enter, I don't know, what options do I have to get to Madrid here? Probably that Ecosia chatbot, if you change the more sustainable replies, will not advertise the next helicopter flight, right, coming from Berlin, but maybe a more environmental friendly alternative, like taking the train or hiking or what might come out of that. However, so what I prepared now and what I wanted to get into a discussion with you, but let me also go back to the presentation. So what I prepared is, so as you can see, there's a mural board. It's a collaborative workspace where you can create post-its, generate ideas, facilitate discussions around that. One of the exercises can be mapping the current OpenAI business model onto these different components, starting from the values, the value proposition, stakeholder segments, and so forth, which I already did here with these kind of dark green post-its. They kind of illustrate how the current OpenAI business model would unfold over the different components of this values-based business model canvas. And what we did then here with the student groups from Media University and other sources is that we already started to generate a couple of ideas, and those are depicted on the light green post-its here, where we think about how could the current OpenAI business model be expanded if we put in values of sustainability, for instance, the values that Ecosia is promoting of sustainability, impact, integrity, and so forth. So the question is, if we want to redesign this open AI business model as it is today, what would change within these different components? And having said that, let's briefly look into the mural board. And everyone, please feel free to create some more of these light green, or you can use any other color as long as it distinguishes itself from the dark green. If you have any ideas on how this traditional or this current open AI business model would change once we want to give it a more sustainability-oriented tune. And to give you one example, Barton, I would like to add you to add this. So one of the students from my class here on innovation and entrepreneurship at the Media University already prepared some discussion we had around the fair treatment and crediting of artists and creators. Because, you know, in most cases nowadays, large language models like ChatGPT are just fed with training materials from the internet, and the artists don't receive any remuneration, which may not appear as a fair treatment if you think about it from a sustainability-oriented point of view. So Barton, what were your ideas how this fair remuneration of artists could be realized?
Yep. Thank you for introducing my point in the beginning. So yeah, so there is a big problem with, they have been accused a lot of not crediting the artist. The most recent example would be, sorry, I can't remember the name right now, but yeah, so they have been accused of a lot of not crediting the artists and having feeling like giving the feeling that the artists are having their artwork or art style stolen from them. Therefore, they are currently, what they are doing is to offer opt-out mechanisms. So when the artists or creators wish to, they can opt out of their content being used for training future models at the moment. And what they have also done is to offer as well partnerships with stock image providers like Shutterstock, so that they can legally train models on curated data sets they have. And however, I think they can do much more than that. So what potential solution to this could be that they can have AI style licensing marketplaces. So as you know, there are marketplaces for selling fonts or brushes for digital art or digital texts, and they can create a platform that they let artists license their unique art styles to be used in generation models. Another thing is they could do is to create artist verified datasets. So they can have artists voluntarily contribute their art and therefore giving users ethical options for generating these art in specific art styles, and at the same time giving exposure as well as compensation for these contributors. Last thing that I would like to mention is potentially creating a audit and recognition system. So this would refer to a tool that can detect when an AI generated image very closely mimics a certain known style or artwork, and this could lead to prompting automatic credits or alerts to the original artist that owns this art style.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm not sure, maybe you were referring to the Ghibli studio. So that was a
Yes.
big controversy like a month ago. This Japanese film studio that's known for its quite unique art style, and ChatGPT would give you a Ghibli style kind of illustration of yourself or of whatever image you put in there. And of course, Ghibli Studio did not receive a single cent for that kind of service. So the question is how to deal with that. And yeah, we already discussed, Barton already contributed a couple of ideas around it. We also have here different options of using a pattern, sustainable business model pattern, like use-oriented service where micropayments are generated and passed on to the artists, like it's already in some extent done in on YouTube or on Spotify, right? There are obviously other, and I'm not sure how many people are on the mural board right now. I don't see everybody, so I hope you don't have problems entering here, because there's a lot of more examples how that could be done. So please contribute to that. Please send an email if you want to follow up on this kind of work stream. But as you can see, there are already other examples that we came up with, right? So for instance, a more sustainable product design, considering sustainability related issues more systematically in the responses, a social freemium approach, providing access and programs to schools in underserved communities, empowering underserved communities to address their local challenges through the use of AI tools. Of course, using regenerative energy, producing their own regenerative energy to power their searches, or yeah, the fair remuneration of artists, as just some examples that immediately came to our minds. So I see there's something coming up here, transparency about the carbon footprint. Yeah, this is something you contributed. Interesting. So this is really, that's an obstacle that's also mentioned by the people from Ecosia and that are running and try to justify the carbon footprint of their chatbot, for instance, which is very difficult for them to do because all of the artificial intelligence providers don't make that transparent. They make a big secret out of yeah, the real carbon footprint, the energy and water use per prompt that they have. So obviously that could be a good measure to make that more transparent. I don't see if there have been any other contributions. If you did add some and are willing to share them, just please speak up. I think everyone's available, able to access the microphone. Here in the value section, yeah, we have this ongoing conflict about the governance structure in OpenAI. So what they just published 1 week ago actually was that they abandoned what they initially intended to convert to a for-profit organization. They were facing some legal and other difficulties here, and decided to keep the non-profit organization as a major shareholder of a purpose-driven public benefit organization, and which forces them to control or to balance the profit-oriented interests of the shareholders with the mission of the organization, which brings us back to the very fundamental level, I would say, of aligning AI business models with the needs of sustainable development.
Henning, there's a question in the chat. Sylvia, if you want to say it out loud, and maybe we can open for some questions. Does that sound good?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Sylvie, do you want to speak, or should I read your question?
I can speak. So very happy to be here. Thanks for your presentation. So I'm from Remodel School of Management and very interested in business model innovation and technologies. And one question I had is after this your approach, which sounds like a very nice creativity exercise, what happens? We have a big issue with going from this design stage to action, and so is there any, what do you do after this creativity stage?
Yeah, I mean, this is so I have to admit, yes, I'm more from the academic field. So what I can give is some inspiration and some guidance and some frameworks for facilitating such a transition to more sustainable business models. So yeah, I mean, we'll seek for to follow up on the initial contacts we had with Ecosia, which is already starting to become active in the field. But if you have other people from practitioners or entrepreneurs that are active in the field and could benefit from these discussions and considerations, yeah, please share that, and we'd be happy to follow up on that. But there's no immediate remedy yet from our side. It's just more to facilitate the discussion and facilitate the development on behalf of entrepreneurs and people active in that field. And also taking the problem definition to a new level, right? Because that was, I think I was trying to get at in the beginning, that this whole alignment problem is very present in the whole discourse about artificial intelligence, but it's usually just focusing on a more technological level and talking about the safety issues, about the bias, about the abuse of such a technology, and not so much about the business model related aspects, and especially not the sustainability oriented business model aspects in that domain.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Perhaps we could also do some creativity about the worst things to do with AI in the business model.
About the worst things?
The worst things to do with AI at more the business model level. It could be funny.
Yeah, that's an interesting exercise as well. Michael Ilk, I think he's also here. I just send you a link. Actually, someone did that on posted that on LinkedIn. I saw that. So asking ChatGPT if it was the devil and would want to bring the worst harm to mankind, what could it do? Right? And there's an interesting list of answers, and you just put on the news here on the television, and you see a lot of that going on right now. So it's interesting. Michael, do you remember some of the results from that exercise? So I think it was actually like undermining critical thinking, for instance.
Yes. And like using or like flooding people with like consume, and that like always creating more demand for more, like never keeping people happy, and like reducing the attention span, things like, yeah, there were like a lot of things like which are currently happening, especially with social media. So there is, yeah, a lot of things going on. And she also like asked the opposite question, like if you would be an angel and you want to like help the future generation, what would your steps would be?
So yeah, there's an interesting range of answers you can get from that. But yeah, thanks for that input. I also think that's a quite interesting exercise. Do you see my screen to just wrap up rapidly?
Yep. We can see your screen.
Yeah, okay. I mean, so obviously this is an ideation exercise. What it brings you to is a set of like different alternative business models, and then it's up to you as entrepreneurs to put that into practice. Here again is a collection of some of the immediate things we came up with, ranging from changes in the values to the value proposition, stakeholder revenue model, what Barton already introduced here, and the revenue and cost structure resulting from that. And yeah, just a little wrap up here, what I try to inspire you with. I mean, it's a coffee for thought. Actually, my coffee got cold now, so I have to get back to that. But yeah, so that was just a short, like inspiring piece here, building on some recent observations, what's going on in OpenAI, the governance conflict we see here on the media, if you want to follow up on that, and the question on how we can remodel such a business model in line with values of sustainable development. So if you're interested in following up, drop me an email, join us at the ISPIM conference coming up in Bergen, where we'll hopefully also have a chance to continue that discussion within the special interest group on values-based and sustainable innovation, and yeah, the whole ISPIM community and the SF4S projects that's also still going on until the middle of the year. So thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Henning, for today. And if any of you have any ideas around these themes of future social innovation and AI, please send me an email.